The Iran protests mark the 8th anniversary of the Green Revolution, when hundreds of thousands braved arrest and took to the streets for democracy. Here's what President Obama said back then. I want to start off by being very clear that it's up to the Iranians to make decisions about who Iran's leaders will be, that we respect Iranian sovereignty and want to avoid the United States being the issue inside of Iran. Compare that to today and President Trump's tweets that you heard about from Steve that ended with "the world is watching," #Iran protests. Here to discuss, Jarrett Blanc, former State Department lead coordinator for the Iran nuclear implementation. Jarrett, good to see you as always. Is there an opportunity now, if played correctly, to put the Iranian regime back on its heels here?
I think there's very little opportunity for the United States to have a controlled influence inside Iran. We don't really understand.
Does that mean we shouldn't try?
It basically does mean that we shouldn't try. We should be pursuing our national interests vis-a-vis Iran's policy in the region, Iran's policy globally. We should not pretend that we understand the domestic politics of Iran to the extent that statements from the president or specific actions from Washington can have a controlled effect inside Iran.
But isn't any effect inside Iran better than no effect? How is destabilizing the Iranian regime right now not a good thing for the United States?
Well, I think there are a lot of answers to that question. I'll start off by saying that there's no particular reason to believe that anything that we say or do will have a destabilizing effect.
So why not try?
Iranians are a patriotic people. There's a strong national sentiment. And the idea that our influence is somehow going to support the protests rather than undermine them, I think, is probably not true. More than that, I would say that the idea that it is inherently good or desirable or necessary for the United States to destabilize this regime is just not true.
This is a regime that supports Hezbollah. This is a regime that hates Israel. This is the same regime that has the blood of thousands of Americans and American soldiers on its hands. What's the harm in trying? I mean, this was the same arguments essentially that President Obama used in 2009 to not get involved in the Green Revolution. Yet when Hosni Mubarak was under siege from protesters, couldn't wait to come out and say it was time for him to go. Why not at least take a chance?
Well, I think, first of all, you've cherry-picked a little bit the quote from President Obama. Just like President Trump, he also called for respect of human rights in Iran. That is absolutely appropriate for both presidents.
He didn't call for the Ayatollah to step down. He didn't say Ahmadinejad was an illegitimate president. Didn't send BGANs to try and help these protesters get their message out and allow U.S. cyber attacks on the Iranian firewalls to let pictures come out. A lot of folks would say President Obama left these protesters in Iran out to dry. Why not do something different this time?
I think that there is a strong reason to believe that overt support from the United States for protests inside Iran are counterproductive for the protesters. More than just that, again, I mean, if you look at the actual coverage, what we understand is going on inside Iran, it's very thin right now. We do not have enough of an understanding of the politics of Iran to play this game. I mean, I'll tell you that.
Hold on, Jared. No, Jared, you've given. I get that talking point. We've understood it since 2009. The question is, it didn't work back then. Iran only became more radical. Their support of Hezbollah only increased. Their support of brutality in Syria only increased since 2009. Well, the amount of blood on Iranian hands has only increased.
That's all ahistorical. I'm sorry. I mean,
so
Iran's support
ahistorical.
Why
not try something different?
Iran's support for Hezbollah has been a consistent part of the regime's policy since the revolution. And to say that their support for brutality in Syria increased since 2009, well, the civil war in Syria started after 2009.
Jared, you're not answering my question. What we did in 2009 didn't work. Clearly, it did not.
This is not the way that policy is not made by saying an impossible goal was not achieved in 2009.
So it's not worth trying something new. It's not worth trying something new.
And again pursue an impossible goal.
Okay.
The United States is not in a position and does not need to push for regime change in Iran. The United States.
Wait. Hold on. We don't need regime change in Iran.
No.
Fascinating. Okay, well, a lot of folks would disagree with you. I think clearly our allies in Israel would as well. At least the folks over there I have talked to do. Jared, appreciate your insights.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Good to be here. Good debate.